Welcome, Shiri. How are you today? It's so good to see you again. I am so looking forward to having you back on the Psychedelic Mom podcast and hearing about all that is arising and changing in your life. So, for those who missed your first podcast, could you introduce yourself and tell me like where you are in the world and all about your work?
Sure. Well, first I will start with where I am in my spirit because that is more important than a physical location. Currently, I am a spirit free floating in the universe in a human body. I am learning to become more human every day. I embody and attempt to encourage in everyone the values of connection and creativity. My superpowers are to decipher and be a poet of the unconscious and be an igniter of new realities and bring out some deep and potent medicine from every person that I meet. I am very much a fan of clear speech and bold action, and I attempt to be an embodiment of that through the actions that I take in the world. I'm very much known, or rather primarily known, as a pioneer in the field of psychedelic integration and community building. I am the founder and director of the Psych Soul Play School of Psychedelic Integration and Soulpreneurship, which is a certification program for people who want to serve as psychedelic integration providers. And putting all that aside, I am an instrument, and if there's any role that I can really claim as my soul truth is being a mother to my child, Maila Ahava. And everything I do is in devotion to her and of children so they could live, so we can live and they could live their best human lives possible.
Wow.
And I'm in Costa Rica, for those who have to know.
Amazing. Just
Yeah.
hearing all that, not just that you do, just by what the description of what you are trying to bring into the world, the embodiment of who you're trying to be. And I have great honor and reverence for that because all of the things that you're trying to embody and bring into the world take a lot of courage, take a lot of grit, and a lot of beauty and patience, and one's own exploration and deep exploration again and again into who they are. So thank you for all that you do. And so
Thank you.
one of the things I wanted to talk about today is I know you have some changes in your life. And if we think of life and relationships as psychedelic, a lot of times when we go into a psychedelic experience, we learn a lot about ourselves, which then shows us a lot about our surroundings and those who we're with and how we're relating in the world and our relationships. And I'm wondering, for you, how have psychedelics shown you who you are, but also relationally where you need to be in your life and all of that?
Yeah. So those of you who are listening and who are experienced with psychedelics can probably understand that your question, Michaela, is a very vast one, meaning it can go in so many different directions, and it's going to be challenging to describe the full and to really provide a full answer to this broad spectrum question. However, I will do my best and I will tackle it from one aspect that feels right now, which is that everything in life, the way that I see life, is about relationships. We are individuals that are indivisible and inseparate from a much larger organism. We as the psychedelic thought says, that we are one we're all one, we're one of source, we all came from the same source. We came here, we've forgotten, we were indoctrinated with the idea of separation. And the idea is, or the underlying mechanism of our existence is to the yearning to return to balance and harmony with all that is, and to reunite with the mothership, with source, with one another, because we are all one and the same. And 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 that is the umbrella overview of basically, like, what are we doing here on planet Earth? Why do we do everything that we do? Is to learn how to relate to one another, to learn how to be in right relationship with each other. And to be able to do that, it's first and foremost with ourselves. And when we see life in this way, and this is again how I see life, is that everything is about relationships. It's all about relationships. Then pretty much every insight that comes up in the modality of psychedelic therapy, of entheogens, plant medicines, etc., every insight in one way, shape, or form turns to be all about relationships. And
And I like that distinguishing factor too,
yeah.
because not just psychedelics, like you're talking about, everything in life is teaching us about who we are and then how to take that into our deep relationships and relating with others. So it's not just the psychedelic state, it's everything that we're doing from the context of what you just said of what we're here for.
And everything from, the fruit bowl that I have on the table next to my laptop, to the car that I drive, the clothes that I wear, the food that I put in my body, the objects I pick for my home, the garden I plant. It's about how I relate to each and everything as a way to define who I am, to define how I see the world as an expression of who I am, and my choices are an expression of that relationship. So, of course, when we take the word relationships, primarily we think about, it's friendships, family, our significant other, our lover, our children. And again, it's important for me to just bring another perspective to that word. With that, because I know that our podcast is minimized with time, maybe we can focus on the idea of being in right relationship with the medicines themselves, as well as with, since we are mothers and we have children that we relate to, and potentially we have husbands, partners, baby daddies, whatever is real for you, and the types of relationships that we get to consciously design as visionaries, as people who create their own reality, who are empowered to create their own reality. And I think this maybe will be the answer to the question that you've asked, is what is materialized for me in the realms of relationship through psychedelic awareness is the awareness that I am the creator of my reality, I am the creator of my relationships, and I get to define them based on my view of the world and my understanding of how I want to live my life. So this includes stripping down any indoctrinated, colonized social narratives. What does marriage look like? Do you have to be married at all? What is my value and worth as a woman if I am a mother or not a mother? Who gets to be a mother? So much can come out of that.
What does it look like to be a
Yeah.
single woman in the world? So many
Yes.
questions about just being a woman in all of that, who we were taught to be in that enculturation, even in a marriage, what is a woman supposed to be like in a marriage? All these identities that have been kind of placed on all of us through this culture.
Exactly. And then shedding these identities to get to do life on your own terms. And this idea, first of all, when we're faced with it, that actually we do get to do life on our own terms, it's a pretty big psychedelic insight. And in some ways, of course, it's a gift. Like, who doesn't want to design their own reality? And then in so many other ways, it seems like a burden, It seems overwhelming. It seems
Terrifying
like
at times.
terrifying.
Terrifying. I
Thank
mean, let's
you.
really say it. It can be
Yeah.
terrifying to think that, wow, I'm the creator of my reality. And so if there's things in that reality that aren't aligned, that I have to take responsibility for that and make those changes to open up the reality that I want, to really stand in alignment to the reality. That's those are big, huge psychedelic insights. And sometimes they don't come all at once. They come in multiple forms in multiple ways through psychedelic experiences.
Yes, and I believe also that, insights build on each other, they
Mhm,
stack, and
mhm,
I'm speaking from the vantage point of being, I don't know, linear or nonlinear, Gregorian
mhm,
calendar time, about 8 years in, maybe a little more, of being in deep relationship and deep study
mhm,
with
mhm,
entheogens. And, surely the things that I'm going through in my life right now as a psychedelic informed woman are very different from, very different insights from the ones that I received, a few years ago. And
mhm.
nevertheless, I could probably not have received these insights without going through that path
Yes,
first,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So, what has shifted? You were talking about, years ago, the insights that you had in the psychedelics, and now you're at a different place as a woman in the psychedelic realm. And what are the insights now? What are you being called to do just in your personal experience of yourself and then out in the relationships that you're currently in the world?
So we are speaking at an interesting point in time. I believe last we spoke, I was about halfway through a year of celibacy
Mhm.
from utilizing any psychedelic substances or engaging with them. And I just completed a full year of that. And it has been one of the best years so far in the psychedelic journey, to be very honest, of actually getting to be with myself without the disruption of that psychedelic experiences bring into the internal conversation, bring into the psyche. I feel like for many years of course, willingly and intentionally stepped in to have my psyche being disrupted through this modality, and then I just decided that there's been plenty of disruption. Now I'm ready to actually go into the entropy and stand in that internal chaos that has been the outcome of all these years of psychedelic use, and then like see where everything wants to land. So I've been through an ebb and flow of death and rebirth. Currently, I actually do believe that I am in another process of death. A lot has been stripped from my life. My former partner, who's the father of my child, we decided to separate last spring. We just announced it recently. I am now, for the first time in a long time, living on my own. I'm a single mom for the first time in my life, and managing my own household with a child in tow, which is a very interesting situation and very demanding as well. Um, and basically, I'm at a place where so many of the foundations that I've been exploring through my years of psychedelic therapy, which is my relationships with my family, my romantic relationships, my work, friendships, communities, the city I was living in, all of that has actually been completely stripped
Mm,
in the last year. And right now, again, we're recording this in a moment in time,
mhm,
so I'm speaking from a very unique moment in time. As we speak, um, there's really not much left. There is currently myself and my daughter,
mhm,
and my personality, my behaviors, my thoughts, and all myself, me, myself, and I, and that is. Uh, I mean, how can I say this? Like, it's a very reductionist
mhm,
place.
mhm,
And when you're standing naked, with no other distractions, um, then this is really an opportune time to really like inquire as to all the belief systems, all the patterns that have led me to live the life that I've lived and that have gotten me to this very moment. And when I'm able to examine these patterns, and this is again this is literally, the days, the weeks, the season I'm in right now, is really staring at myself in the eye and asking, do I love this woman? Do I love this human? And am I proud of them? Am I proud of what this human not just has accomplished, but who they are right now? Can I be this human's best friend? And I'm still, in dialogue with that. But those are really powerful questions to ask oneself, when you're in a place of, okay, minimize all distractions and you really want to get to know who you are. Ask yourself, do you like yourself? And then see what comes up. So that's where I'm at right now.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I know it's a deep process. You were hinting even at some of like the death process of looking at all your beliefs and kind of like looking at them. Where did they come from? Is it something I still want to hold on to? And then also, once you start examining those, what's behind them, the human being that you are, what were some of those challenging or, when you were going in deep to those aspects of yourself, what was arising?
Well, everything, not everything, but many roads in the integration path, as I've learned over the years, lead to a few major checkpoints, like deep, main insights, main diamonds that are part of our human becoming. And self-worth is one of them. Boundaries is one of them, one of those gems. Because again, we're talking about relationships, okay? So again, when you think about, how can we do relationships? What are the rules of the game for doing relationships? It has to be all about boundaries. And what kind of boundaries? Boundaries in the day-to-day, energetic boundaries. We're also working with psychic spaces here, with energetic, we're working with the quantum fields. Boundaries come in all different levels. So boundaries is a lesson that keeps coming up. And self-worth, has a lot to do with sovereign existence. Who am I? Am I worthy as I am? And what are the chords that my mind has built, has learned, has built, has modeled itself after? What cords and attachments are binding me to stories that are hindering me from living my highest self? And am I worthy of just existing as I am without having to produce, without burning out, without, anything? Am I worthy of existing as I am without having to be anything? Just knowing that who I am is enough to exist, and I can be secure in who I am without needing any external affirmations or validations for that existence. So those are two major things that are definitely part of the road to individuation, being an individuated, integrated being.
They're very interesting questions. I had some of my own questions like that recently. I was even thinking about doing, the podcast, right? And all the things that come up. I think you said you might be launching one. So all the things that come up in the process of like some things I've noticed about myself that I couldn't have done this. Like you said, I don't know that I could have done this 10 years ago because I was so hyper self-critical. And so if there was anything that wasn't perfect, I would have been like, no, don't post it. Now I'm like, it's not perfect, but I'm in process. But then there's also those questions of like, I've really thrown myself into working a lot this past year. And there's that question, why? Why? And if the podcast doesn't succeed, what does that really mean? Like, am I enjoying it? Do I love it for the sake of doing it? Like, who's doing it? And all these questions of checking in with myself to see if I'm in alignment to what I want to put into the world. And am I in alignment to what's actually true or some other part of myself? I've been going through a similar process that you're talking about, in particular as a woman who grew up in different structures and has been married for a long time, and really peeling back the layers of who I am beyond my children, who am I beyond my relationship with my husband, who am I, what you're talking about, who am I? Just me, with all that taken away. And I have found that personally, psychedelics, as hard as they have been for me in the areas where I've had to go in and exile parts of myself that I didn't even know had been lost, I would say that the one thing that, if I'm sitting here today, as you said, in this time and place, that feels true is the way they have allowed me to peel back the falsities, the way they've allowed me to peel, like, be unmasked, to be like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is where I am today. And I don't know if you were like this as a woman, but I grew up thinking I always had to have a smile on my face and everything was always great. And you know what? I believed that. I was living that. And I realized that I was hiding huge aspects of myself that weren't feeling that way. And what do you do with those parts? When do you start listening to those parts? And I think the other piece that you just said, that is, once you do, well, then there's the courage to shift what isn't in alignment. Because if you just ignore those parts, no change has to happen. But when you start standing in the power of the idea that you have agency over your life, and then you find out who the truth of you, who you are, is, what is they out picturing? Does it align with that? And it is a really beautiful process. And what's the word?
I mean, there's
Yeah.
decay, right? There is detox, there is detachment, there is can be dissociation, all the D's. And what's the outcome? We don't know. I mean, we can only trust that there is always light, you know, and even at the times of the greatest darkness, the light exists. And you know, where the more that we get seasoned on this path, we understand that it's a season, you know, life has a season. And also currently right now it's winter time. This is when nature goes into hibernation. We go into the darkness. This is a great time to actually do or embark rather on what we call the dark nights of the soul, go into the shadows so you can learn more about yourself. And then when it's springtime to when you're ready to bloom again, then there will be a season for that as well. And nevertheless, I also don't want to minimize the fact that, just like you said, Michaela, it is absolutely terrifying. And there are moments of, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm going to, you know, who's going to pay the bills. You know, I have like all these dreams of, you know, I'm going to emerge as some type of other woman, another identity is coming, wonderful. And, you know, we got to pay rent. We have employees, like we have like the real human issues to stay on top of. So, you know, I just don't want to also sugarcoat it. You know, it's, for some people, it can seem like a very romantic process of, you know, going into these like recreative periods. And again, they can be wonderful.
Yeah.
And there are also other aspects to it.
What would you say
Yeah.
in the process that you've been in since you decided to leave your marriage? What would you say you've learned the most about yourself? What has been the most soul revealing aspect of this process, or maybe just hinted a couple of them for us?
Well, there are a lot. For now, what I will share is that despite the dark season that I am currently going through, again, the death
Hmm.
process, I do know without any shred of a doubt that there is no one like me in the world, and that my value and what I bring to the table, and the rich soul and human that I am, can never be defined by anyone
Hmm.
else. And I'm really learning to lean into that and to receive that, and to learn to be secure and love. Again, first of all, love myself. I'm really learning into that right now,
Hmm.
learning how to care for myself, learning how to, again, do all the human things, to be into the human stories without getting sucked into them, without allowing them to define me, and just learning how to do life on my own terms. And it's such a blessing. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. I mean, definitely feel your heart in all of this and the truth of where you are right now, which is this both the death process and also coming to this self love. Um, how is it so far being a single mother?
Oh my Lord. So first of all, my hat is off to and first of all, any mother out
Hmm.
there. My hat is off to you. I bow to you.
Yeah.
And to the women that are single mothers. I mean, it's still an ineffable, um, um, I'm in awe of women that are able to hold their lives
Hmm.
together while parenting on their own. I mean, in many ways, I'm still very privileged because my former partner and I are amicable. We live near each other. We try to help each other out. And it's still so challenging, to work out the schedules
Hmm.
and to basically try and push my entire life into the few hours that I have on my own before the child thankfully finally returns, and then I get to spend time with her. So it's definitely challenging. I'm still learning how to do it. Um, but yeah, in some ways I feel like I've gotten my life back,
Hmm.
because for the first time in many years, I now have 2 or 3 days a week on my own to do anything I want, to go meet with a girlfriend for coffee, to have a chat on the phone, to, go take a class somewhere. I finally have time to do that. So I feel like parts of me are returning. And at the same time, I have 50% of the time now with the only child I have, which is heartbreaking. And, um, there has to be a lot of acceptance and forgiveness towards life for that.
Hmm.
A lot of grief. And, I don't have any family around me. We moved to Costa Rica a year ago. I know nobody here except, a bunch of people that I met in the local community. I don't have help.
So you're
And
really
it's
talking about
definitely
everything being stripped away.
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because even in those
Yep.
moments of being like, now your daughter's gone and it is literally just you in a place
Just
that's
myself.
brand new.
So there are a lot of opportunities for meeting truth as it is, or just meeting reality as it
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
A lot of opportunities for clarity, and a lot of opportunities to muster the courage to show up for myself, because if I don't, then literally no one else will.
Right.
Myself and my child.
Now,
There's really
were you
nothing
and your
left.
partner in business together?
We were.
So is that untangled as well? Or is that
That is, yes, it is. That was a whole other thing to untangle. We're still going through, the untangling the bureaucratic process is a whole other animal from the emotional or energetic. Though there are two separate things and they both need to be tended to. We're still going through all of that. But yeah, the business is, separated. Now there is a whole other level of financial management that I get to lean into and learn and to redefine. And Yeah, and then again, it's like a whole other skill set.
Yeah.
They didn't teach us this in high school, or
No.
anywhere.
None of
It's
this
a
got taught.
miracle
None of
that
this got taught. What happens when your
none of this got
relationships
taught.
fall apart? What do you do? How do you financially figure this all out? None of this gets taught.
I don't know. I just, the what I do know for sure is that I am a woman with a very deep conviction and belief in spirit.
Mhm.
And I have a very deep conviction that no matter what happens, the universe is always conspiring in my favor.
Mhm.
And this knowing is that life ring that is keeping me afloat at the deep waters that I'm in right now. I know
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
everything is well. I get to go back to everything I've learned in the last 8 years and remind myself everything that I've learned, all the tools I teach to my students in my program. I get to revisit them right now and lean into them and explore them and refine them and sophisticate them and make them fit to who I am today. And but yeah, there's the belief, and call it God, call it Buddha, call it source, whatever.
Mhm.
I do have a belief in a higher
Mhm.
power, and this is what I return to every day as my anchor, and I will keep going.
Mhm.
And I really hope that any person that is listening, any mother, any woman, no matter what stage in your life you're on, we're all going through every time, always,
Mhm.
some type of
Mhm.
turbulence, whatever, big or small. This is part of the human condition. Some of us are surfing bigger waves than usual. So I just want to send a message right there to anyone who is hearing this, a
Mhm.
transmutation that you are well, you are loved, you are supported, everything is right. The universe is working for you, the universe is lifting you to higher places. Love is there for you, all the resources are available for you, and all is well.
Mhm.
All is well.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because those are words needed in those times, just to hear that another mother's going through it, just to hear that someone else is on this path, they're not alone, even though it feels so alone, that, like you said, every human being is surfing waves, and some bigger, um, at different times. Um, but I love that prayer that you hold for other people and that knowing that you hold for yourself. And even going into, you were speaking of what you teach your students, and it's almost like an opportunity to lean back into these practices that I think the last time we spoke, one of the things that you had highlighted after writing that article about how psychedelics hadn't been helpful in certain ways, that you had kind of gotten away from the ability to practice your own practices in a way. And and it is in these times when those practices become even more powerful tools and so needed. And what would you say for you those practices are? I mean, I know there's many, but
Yeah.
what is the core, kind of what are your core practices?
Yeah. So thank you for that. And this is something else that I feel really called to share, fresh from this morning. When we say life is psychedelic,
Mm.
when we realize after so many years of work, or for some of us many years of work, for some of us maybe earlier, timeline doesn't matter, but there will be a realization eventually that the psychedelic realm is here right now. We
Mhm.
do not need to approach any substance, put our power, give away our power to any substance, any modality, any shaman, any guru, any
Mhm.
coach to be tapped into the psychedelic sphere that is alive right now wherever
Right
we
here.
are. And this morning I was, going through the different practices. One of the practices that I've been really leaning into recently is self-pleasure.
I like
Because
that.
hello, I'm on my own. There's got to
Right,
be.
there's got to be some fun.
It was, yeah, exactly. So I practiced that consistently, and it was so interesting because I was, in a certain headspace, and as soon as there was a completion of that practice, like immediately, there was a flooding of my consciousness. It was just instantaneous. I'm still mulling it over, but this is literally what happened this morning. A flooding of my consciousness with all the limiting beliefs that I have. And they are, or at least what they were this morning that I'm looking at right now. I don't deserve to be loved because I am not working as hard as I used to. I don't deserve to be loved because I don't have a partner. I don't deserve to be loved because I yelled at my daughter last night. I don't deserve to be loved because I have an after pregnancy body. I have a mom's body. I don't deserve to be loved because a million different reasons. The list just kept going on and on and on. And it was flashing at me like a real closing credits after a movie. And I started crying. It's like, wow, I'm getting goosebumps. So like, here is how I truly feel about myself. And it was a very sobering moment. And it literally felt, again, when you're able to tap into the space, when you understand that all the insights are here, the medicine is already active, if you make space for it and you provide to yourself, the insights will come. And then, of course, when that came, I had a whole ritual. I took the time to make a whole ritual around that. I sat, I wrote it down. I did a couple of other things. And today is like a huge ceremony day for me. As we speak, I'm in ceremony right now with what I've learned. And I don't have to go into a shamanic space in the dark with a bucket to be in ceremony anymore, to work through those things.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's so true. All of what you just said, and so powerful and so vulnerable in the sharing of, because a lot of times what we do, we mask up. And even if we don't love ourselves, we're pretending we love ourselves. We're pretending we think we're great. So coming to the realization of some of those core limiting beliefs and actually sitting with them. And then how do you move into self-love? Because one of the things that I think in my own process of working with psychedelics and coming to that place too, where like, it's got to be right here. It's right here. It is right here. Is when that comes on, those feelings come on. It's almost as if now, anyway, and there'll be many layers of this. It feels like that presence of self-love, that consciousness, the God source, is so close. Yeah. Okay. So it's as if a feeling like that would come up, and I can see the child part, the false place in which that arose from. That limiting belief arose from something that wasn't true from way back. And so it's when I hold that part of myself, whether it's a 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever it is, as the adult soul self, it's as if I can just love that part. And does this make any sense? It's almost as if,
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's a practice.
Well, I have to say, I'm not a self-love teacher. I'm a teacher again, I'm a poet of the unconscious. And for me, what integration is, and the whole modality that I developed about the process or the flow of psychedelic integration is awareness. You become aware of it first. You acknowledge its existence. You accept that this is a part of the reality, and then you can make a choice. Okay, you can either choose to, you choose to take action, and the action that you take depends on, is this a desirable reality? and the reality that I see my highest self existing in, or is this a non-desirable reality? And then I get to strip it away from my life to leave room for the reality that I want to create. And of course, the answer, we know that the answer is always self-love, because in the self-love, there is all the other qualities that are necessary for acceptance, for forgiveness, for grief, which is part of the letting go, part of the acknowledgement process, for the shame, for the guilt, all these feelings that are, they're heavily charged, energetic vibrations, and they do need to be transmuted. And the way to transmute those are love and forgiveness. So there are teachers that really teach how to move through these processes. That is not my expert zone. However, I do know, like for me, the way that I'm going to practice being in the love is connecting with others. Connecting with others as a reminder, if I can't currently or anytime, if I'm having a hard time accessing the love within myself because it's such a raw place, then it's a really wonderful reminder to reconnect with other parts of the living organism, which I strive to return to and to become whole again. And this is how we get to reconnect with the source and to be in the harmonic vibration with the others, and therefore fulfill our mission on planet Earth right now, as we talked about in the beginning of the conversation. So to learn how to return to relationship.
So important, really. I mean,
Yes.
the community and the real heart-to-heart connection with another human being is really the most powerful psychedelic there is. First to the self and then to that with another, And, it's such a gift to be here with you and to witness you in your process and to see all of what you're going through, but also like all that you've learned, all the wisdom that you carry within you from the years of your life. It's really, you're an incredible, and we talked about this the first interview, you're incredible at communicating your message. You're very clear about who you are. And, even in today, it's just being clear of where you are in your life right now. It's just this always standing in truth, whether it was with that psychedelic moment of saying, no, I'm going to become psychedelic sober. It's a really hard thing to do when you're a psychedelic integration coach, and
Yeah.
and to stand, and then again today to just stand with the truth of where you are in all of it, like the emotions, the beauty of it, the hardness of it, the aloneness of it. Sometimes I wish, when I've gone through these hard parts, I wish, like, you go through that hero's journey, and people sometimes, I think, romanticize the dark night of the soul, like, oh, I did that. And it's like, really? And at the end of like the really hard hero's journey, there's part of me at times is like, where's the prize? Where's the prize? And yet I know that it really is the return to a deeper sense of wholeness. But, sometimes I think we can romanticize these times, and they can be really challenging.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for, first of all, your reflections and for the reminder that we get to be loved even when we feel like we are least deserving. And, I actually, to be very honest, I've been sick the last few days. And even this morning, I said, I don't know if I feel so sick. I don't even know if I'm ready to go on a podcast right now. I think I'm going to cancel so I can show up better in a couple of days, because who knows what is going to come out from the state that I'm in right now. And I feel like this is a really potent reminder, especially in the psychedelic field, when there is so much, I feel, and we have talked about this last time, like a glorification of this
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle, of how amazing this modality is, of how enlightened we're all supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be, of how visionary and creative we're all supposed to be, which I'm always striving to be
Yes.
that. But guys, like, I have a child that doesn't want to go take a shower at night after I've had a really rough day and I'm about to lose my shit with her because she wants to go jump on my bed when she's dirty, filthy from being at school all day, and I'm literally about to pop my brains. And and I'm not that enlightened. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Maybe not in that moment, right?
Not in that
Not in that
moment. And
moment.
maybe one day we'll learn to cultivate the patience for that. But this is my truth right now. And I still get to exist.
Mhm.
We still get to exist.
I think it's
We
a
still
really
get to
I
show
think it's a
up.
really important message
Yeah.
also for women, because like I said, I think
Yeah.
even more is required from mothers, and more is required, I think,
Oh
of
my God,
women to
yeah.
show up as it's all okay, as the visionary, as the creatrix, as the with the smile. And I think, I want to always give you permission to show up truly as you are in what you're
Thank
in,
you.
because that's where we all really connect in the heart. When my
Mm-hmm.
daughter actually said this to me the other day, she was going to something and she was exhausted. And I said, "What's up?" And she said, "I don't know. It's going to be so hard for me to be present with everybody." And I said, "What if you just were present with yourself while you were there? What if you didn't have to be present for anybody else but yourself?" And she's like, "I'm not used to doing that. Like, I feel like I would have to be present with everybody." And I said, "What if the
Oh,
gift
yeah. My
was
goodness.
that you just showed up as your authentic self, tired, not really able to be present for anybody else, but just to be present in the space as who you are?" And I think that's the more we do it together, the more we as women do that with each other in the truest of sense, hold each other where we are. And I think that's really the gift, really, because when you think, like you said, psychedelic, it's there's such amazing tools, and there's also this life that we all need to live in in our truth through it all. Psychedelics don't just change it. We still have to daily practice our practices and show up and choose, like you did today. You chose to show up just where you are.
Yeah, thank you. And what's really resonating with me is as mothers, we do have because we understand the gift of the mother,
Hmm.
because we understand the healing and nurturing effects and power of the mother, because we know how much mothering is needed in the world.
Hmm.
We are always, always, a part of us is always attuned
Hmm.
outwards
Hmm.
at any moment, at any moment of the day, at any second, even in our sleep. And and it is difficult sometimes, especially for women like us that are in leadership
Hmm.
roles, that people look up to because they want to model themselves after us. We're really trying to hold, to just put our best foot forward. And yeah, and sometimes this is a really good reminder that we get to be human too.
Yeah.
We get to be human as well.
And the more we show
And
our daughters
yeah,
that and our sons,
yeah.
and that really the gift is the truth
And how to handle the
and how to
truth.
handle the truth.
How to handle the truth, how to meet reality where it's at
Hmm.
without distorting it to fit our
Hmm.
needs, without checking out of it, and just to learn how to respond to it and not react to it. And I feel like by showing them the imperfect sides, which again, especially every mom, every family, especially single moms who are tired at the end of the day, get to show the imperfect sides of their children, and then we get to communicate with them about that, to share, to have these really vulnerable moments. Of course, age appropriately
Hmm.
and with boundary, of
Hmm.
course. Um, and to have these conversations. And then I do feel that in some way my daughter is learning when she sees me in really stressful moments that she's never seen me with before. When she gets to take part in that, I really do feel like she is learning to have more compassion for humans. And that that idea, that possibility, is really giving me more trust in her path, in her dharma, in her role. What am I modeling to her, and also what am I conditioning her to be?
That's
So
big.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
came into this work later, so one of the things I always say to my kids is go do this work now. And that's not really mine to say anyway. Everybody's going to follow their path. It's really mine to hold the space for them to follow whatever path they want. But it is interesting because, you have a younger daughter, so you already went through all the kind of peeling back in the layers of your enculturation. I partly enculturated that. So I, in some ways,
Mm,
repeated some of the, whether that was the religious organization that we grew up in, the kids grew up in, and kind of a way of being that was very much kind of the Matrix way of being. And so I've really had to go back and say, I did a lot wrong, and let's do some repair. If there's any repair that needs to get done, let's do that. Question everything. Find the spirituality or non-spiritual, whatever path is yours. Find that path. And this is the woman that I've shown up as. But this is because my mother, my grandmother, her grandmother. This is what was shown to me, and that's not for me anymore. That's not a way that I want to show up anymore. And so it isn't, I think I always had this idea of the perfect mother, the perfect family. That was
no.
very ingrained into me. That was my job, to create the perfect family. And I think I've come to know that perfect is what we were just talking about, standing in what's true. But meeting that, what you just said is so profound, because I think a lot of what we do is we avoid, or we numb, we leave the truth, we disassociate from the truth. So the way of greeting and leaning in and standing in the truth is serious work, serious practice.
Yeah, thank you. I read this really incredible quote that really stayed with me since I heard it. He or she, in our case, she who accepts everything
Mm-hmm.
forgives everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the more, and really the judgment,
Mm-hmm.
expectate, call it what you will, expectations, the dissonance between your reality to and the presenting
Mm-hmm.
reality, that
Mm-hmm.
dissonance, which we can call judgment, is really what causes the most split and disharmony in the world,
Mm-hmm.
in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And our work, which is a word that I do
I
not
don't
like to
either,
use,
and I
but
use it. So
I
could we
know
come
that a
up with
lot of
another word? What do
I
you
usually
use?
use play, practice or
Okay,
play.
I'm gonna switch that.
So our practice,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, our practice is to be really mindful of our judgments and to, again, to tweak
Mm-hmm.
or transmute that energy of judgment to, again, the process of integration. Become aware, acknowledge, accept, and take action.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do that, then you can mend that split.
Mm-hmm.
You can mend that split in the relationship and bring more cohesion to it and create a healthy bond, a healthy relation, which ultimately will create an integrated self and an integrated world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very mindful right now of again the judgments I hold and how they create the reality that I don't want to live, the split reality. So I invite everyone who's listening to be mindful and begin practicing judgments as the way to bring more medicine into the world
Mm-hmm.
and to bring more the psychedelic mind set of mind, soul set into the world to create a more integrated world.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, where you are now in this, in your kind of psychedelic journey with psychedelics. Where are you? Are you, yeah, where are you?
Yeah, I did complete a full year. I
Mhm.
had a microdose and a half maybe in that time, but I did complete a full year, and I did have my full dose journey a month or two ago for the first time after a while, and it was glorious. I'm not yet called to, so it was with MDMA
Mhm.
specifically. I'm not feeling yet particularly called to return to my other psychedelic teachers. Again, I'm really gauging the
Mhm.
way my wellness every day um, and my ability to remain balanced while receiving these
Mhm.
insights on the daily. And if I do feel like if and when I feel like there is some type of an avoidance, or I just am ready to go towards, an accelerated clarity or anything like that, then I will return.
Mhm.
But right now, I feel like I'm frying pretty big fish in my life. I am employing other tools right now to attain the clarity that I'm seeking. I'm starting a couple of new like self-development programs that I invested in, and I'm really excited to get into that. And one day, when it's right, I will
Mm.
return.
Mhm.
But right now, I feel good.
Mhm.
I'm in touch with a lot of psychedelic and medicine people. So again, that vibration is currently with me.
Mhm.
Again, it's always alive in my household. It's alive within me. And right now, I'm not feeling the need to go and create another power surge because it's already so surged.
Yeah. I've been in a similar place as well. Just
Yeah.
taking time to have other modalities fill that space, other practices fill that. Um, to be supported by other practices right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel connected, again, there are many parts of myself which right now. This is like a new territory for me.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I do feel connected to an internal pole of
Mhm.
some sort, and present and aware. And I feel like when I rely on this place,
Mm.
I currently do not feel a need to, again, to put my power and invest my power
Mhm.
into other methods. So again, it's different. This is where I'm at right now.
I'm curious, was that any part of the relational dynamic? Meaning, like being in a different place with them, or did it have nothing to do with psychedelics, the split, and the need to move in a different direction for both of you?
I mean, it had everything to do with
Yeah.
them because we were both people that are obviously from the field. We're very well known in our field. We're educators. We're community builders, and we both engaged. I'm going to say engaged for me. I don't know what my former partner is up to now in that realm, but we were very much steeped in this field, both professionally and personally. And we were both constantly working with many insights.
Mhm.
So, in many ways, of course, it has something to do
Mm.
with it because our awareness kept expanding and
Right.
expanding, and this is part of our work and our commitment to our union.
Mhm.
As weird as that sounds, we made a conscious decision to reimagine our relationship, and to take our marriage and to reimagine it. And that was the first step
Mhm.
before we decided to head towards a legal divorce, which we are pursuing. However, we're also not seeing ourselves as not family.
Mhm.
We know that we are family, but we are building a different type of family right now,
Mhm.
in a way that is more healthy, first and foremost, most supportive to our daughter,
Mhm.
and of course, supportive to us as individuals, and more healthy for everyone
Mhm.
involved. So we like to use the word
I like
reimagination.
that.
And
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's honestly what does need to happen with a lot of the structures. We need to start reimagining them and then having the courage to create them in the world. Um,
and also to not be attached
mhm.
to what we're told things need to look like.
Mhm.
We are relationships go through different stages, obviously. We are going along with the flow of our relationship, and we're doing our absolute best to attempt to find the most supportive structures that would that would be best at the stage of the
Mhm.
relationship where we are at. And that's what feels right to us right now. And I think every couple gets to, again, to
Mhm.
define and redefine
Mhm.
the relationship at any moment, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the future holds for either of us. But what I do know for sure is that we cannot be attached to things being the way they were. Um, yeah.
Well, I think too, it's the psychedelics can often also help with conscious, a conscious uncoupling, doing it in a way
Conscious
that
uncoupling,
is very
correct.
different than, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, even with the best of intentions of uncoupling. Um, is there anything that you are working on right now that you'd like to share with an audience? Anything that, any new offerings that you have in this time? Or are you really taking time for you?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely taking as much time for me as I
Yeah.
can. Obviously, still have my Psyched Soul body of work, which I'm evolving and growing along with. Currently, let's see, I believe that next week or in the next couple of weeks, we do have my Visionary Business Mastermind opening for the year. It's called Soulpreneur, and it's specifically created for people who are service providers in the psychedelic field and who want to learn how to take any training that they've had in the psychedelic sphere and turn it into a soul-aligned, sustainable, heart-centered business vehicle. So that is beginning in a couple of weeks. And aside from that, as far as my creative projects for the first half of the year, I am committed to completing my first book finally, which I'm really, really
Oh,
excited.
congratulations.
Oh my
Oh my
God, I cannot wait
gosh.
until this baby is
That's
birthed.
amazing.
No, and then with that, the other burning thing is the podcast that I have been wanting
Mm,
to publish. Although I do know that that's another big project as well, but it does feel like this is the year where I finally
wow.
get to do that.
So fun.
And
Do you have a title for
yeah,
your book?
the Psyched
Oh,
Soul,
The
of
Psych
course.
Soul. Yes, I love it.
The Psyched Soul, the transformational journey of psychedelic integration,
Wow.
something along those
Mhm.
lines. Yeah, and it will be a two-book series, and there will be the personal story and of course the modality of and the philosophy of psychedelic integration that I've created. The
Mhm.
method called the Psyched Soul method
Mhm.
will be outlined in there. You know, we don't really have almost any books at all about psychedelic integration. I can count maybe two that I know of off the top of my head, maybe three. Definitely less than five, and I'm hoping to be, to contribute
Yeah.
everything that I've learned over the years, and there's an actual method that really works, that has
Mhm.
worked with numerous clients that I've worked with, that my students, my coaches have worked with. So I'm really eager to share that with all the psychonauts out there, so they can learn how to do
Yeah, so
integration.
needed, so needed. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you so much for coming on today and being right where you are and sharing your wisdom. You're such a beautiful soul from the inside and out. And yeah, I want to continue connection with you and community with you. I'm always here in the land of this psychedelic motherhood and ever changing scape of who we are. Yeah, just want to always tell you, for you too, you sent that blessing out to other mothers out there. I want to give that right back to you. You are absolutely loved
Sweet.
and beautiful and have everything you need within you to create the life that you're looking to manifest. And yeah, you're a beautiful soul.
Thank you so much. So many blessings to
Yeah,
you.
you too.
And yeah, to all the mamas that are listening, all the psychedelic mamas,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I may, just one last
Mm-hmm.
sentence, a last transmission that wants to
Mm-hmm.
come through. Oftentimes we turn to our children for, we're doing this for the
Mm-hmm.
kids. we draw so much strength from that, and I want to invite everyone to do it first for you, to do it first for us, because we are so worth it. We are so deserving.
Mhm.
We deserve to get to know ourselves. We deserve to invest in ourselves. We deserve to get to know what we stand for and what our medicine is.
Mhm.
So take the time for yourself, invest in yourself, have the most beautiful, most intimate relationship with yourself, because you are the only person that gets to be you in this lifetime. And how radiant and how much radiance, of course, will be poured, continue to be pouring out of you when you embody that radiance first for yourself. Um, so yeah, mamas,
Yeah.
let's do it
Hold,
for
that's
us.
right. Hold that prayer for all mothers out there. Yeah, that's beautiful.